And let's come to a comfortable seat. Just take a moment here in your seat. We'll do a little centering before we actually move on to our backs. But move your sitting bones, just giving yourself that chance to find the tilt of your pelvis. And now take a hand to your belly and a hand to your heart. And with your eyes closed, if that's comfortable, start to tune into a full deep breath in and out of your nose. Letting your breath start to grow each time you take another inhale and exhale. And in particular, allow for your inhales to become a little bit more natural, not necessarily trying to make them grow, but your exhales grow. Using each exhale to press your breath out just a little further. We have a couple more breaths this way, focusing on that length of the exhale. And then let your breath return to a natural place. And then just notice for yourself how your breath has changed since you first began to focus on your breath. And now tune into an intention for your practice this morning. Connecting palms together at heart center, gently press palms and lift your elbows up just slightly. Lift your shoulders up and back. And then on your exhale, bow towards your heart. Softly opening your eyes, releasing your hands down. And then we're going to make our way all the way down onto our backs. And from your back, footprints on the ground, knees are bent, and take your arms out to a cactus or a T, whichever feels the best to your body so that your palms are facing the ceiling. And then just notice if you have a cactus and your hands are not coming all the way down to the ground, just notice it. Don't try to make it happen or anything like that. But take a couple big breaths and fill up your heart space. Noticing the front and the back of your heart. Noticing that expansion upward and the expansion downward. And now on your next exhale, you're going to draw your elbows in together to touch, palms together to touch. Right above your chest and your head. Take a couple big breaths here. Just notice if there's some tightness there for your shoulders to draw your elbows into touch. Inhale, open it up. Walk your shoulder blades in just a little bit. And exhale, draw your elbows into touch again. Not trying necessarily to keep your shoulder blades touching or coming together on your back. Just take a big breath into that space in between your shoulder blades. And then from here, keeping your elbows touching, your hands touching, you're going to take little circles in one direction and feel the movement of whatever is shifting on your back. Shoulder blades, maybe somewhere around your ribs. Just notice. And then switch directions with those circles. And then open your arms up again, palms facing the ceiling if that's in your practice. Take a big deep breath and fill up that space in between your shoulder blades. And now reach your arms straight up. Think of straight up from your shoulders and rotate your arms so that your elbow pits are actually trying to turn toward your head or back above your head. So now shoulder blades engage, draw your low ribs in just a little and begin to reach your arms overhead, keeping your palms turned in. Take a big breath with your arms overhead and begin to tilt your pelvis so that your sitting bones are moving down. Now press your low ribs into the ground and bring your arms back up overhead, or up above your shoulders rather, and then draw your arms back overhead. And then lift your arms up and arms overhead. 2 more this way. And as you move your arms, keep your elbow pits rotated so they're trying to move toward the wall behind you. Now arms up toward the ceiling, reach a little further so that maybe your shoulder blades broaden off your back, and then plug your shoulder blades in. Now wrap your arms around yourself, give yourself a hug. It doesn't matter which arm is on top. So we'll take both sides. Take a big breath into that space in between your shoulder blades. And then reach your arms up over your shoulders and switch the cross. Take the hug the other way. Take a deep breath. And now release your arms down to the ground, palms are up. Walk your shoulder blades into or onto your back. Draw your knees up into your chest and rock gently side to side. And as you gently rock side to side, starting to take just a little bit of a twist here, notice what starts to lift up and think about only rocking as far as it's easy to keep both shoulder blades on the ground. And then come back in the center here, wrap your arms around your legs if that's comfortable, or you can just hold on to your knees and squeeze them in. And take a couple big breaths, giving yourself a little bit of compression here. And now hold on to your right leg, extend your left leg all the way out against the ground. A little flex to your feet. And as you exhale, draw your knee in a little bit closer, squeezing against your side. Inhale, switch sides. And exhale, draw your leg in. Inhale, switch sides. And exhale. And keep going with your breath for about 3 more rounds on each side. We started on the right side, so take your last one on the left. And once you finish that last round, take your knees up close to your chest again, hands to your knees, and then open your knees up wide. And then start a little bit of movement forward and back with your knees. So you're starting to find a little more hip opening here, a little bit more movement through your pelvis. And now think of opposites, pushing your right knee forward and drawing your left knee in toward your chest, and then switching. It's almost like you're driving a bus here, a big bus steering wheel. And now draw your knees back up to center, and this time little circles in one direction with your knees. And with those little circles, think about where it is in your back body you're experiencing some shift and some movement, maybe a little bit of a massage here for your back body. And then begin to make some bigger circles, gradually increasing the size. Maybe even increasing it so much that it's hard to hold on to your knees still. Well, I have shorty arms, so that doesn't take much. And then slowly start to bring your circles back into small. And then switch directions with your circles. Small to begin with. And then gradually start to add some size to those circles. Slowly coming to that biggest circle that you can make. And then start to bring it back to small. Slowly taking your circles a little smaller and a little smaller. And now back into center here. Extend your left leg all the way out against the ground. Give both feet a flex. And now you're going to clasp behind the back side of your left thigh and begin to press your hamstrings into your hands as you lengthen your leg. Might be straight, might have a considerable bend, or anywhere in between. But then take a little time to move your hands up and down the back side of your legs, giving yourself a chance to press in a different spot. And think of drawing your hands up toward your knee, down towards your sitting bone, everything in between. And now bend your right knee into your chest, and you're going to open your knee up here. Taking that hip opening on one side now, flexing your feet. Take a couple big breaths, and if you want to, you can add a little bit of movement forward and back, or a little bit of opening and closing. Or you can always work through both of those movements, or even just hold steady in one place. Take a couple big breaths on this side. And now draw your leg across your body, coming to that spinal twist, where maybe your right foot rests against your left leg. But find that place where your knee isn't necessarily coming to the ground. You can always set something underneath it for a little support, but come to where both shoulders can still be on the ground. Maybe you take your gaze over to the right side, arm open to the right. Take a big deep breath here in this spinal twist. And now inhale, come back up to center. And switch legs, lengthening your right leg out. Left knee opens up to the left side first. And then again, you can always take little bits of movement forward and back, or a little in and out movement here. Whatever feels good to you for finding some movement through the hip, through your low back, even maybe noticing the SI joint. And then bring your knee back up to center and cross it over to the right side. And again, your left foot might rest right against your right thigh. If it feels good, you're welcome to open your right arm up and take your gaze to the right. Just notice your shoulder and think about having that place where both shoulders can be on the ground. And take a full breath. Then inhale, come back up to center. Both knees draw into your chest. And big rocks side to side where you might even use your elbows as bumpers. And now go ahead and roll over to your side and push yourself up to your hands and knees. And for just a moment on hands and knees, take a spine clearing cat and cow. Inhaling belly toward the ground. Exhaling round your spine upward. And take 2 more deep breaths right here. Taking that movement as gently or as deeply as you need. And now we're going to come forward into a forward fold at the front of our mats. So you can step forward from your hands and knees, or you can step forward from a downward facing dog. Your choice. If you're dying for a down dog this morning, feel free to take one. But make your way to inner hip distance apart or wider with your feet for your forward fold. And then pulse a few times. Inhale and lengthen part way. Exhale and fold over your legs. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and fold. One more big breath. Full inhale. Long, deep exhale. And then hands above your knees, start to lift your chest, and then walk your hands up your legs to rise all the way up to stand. And then we'll make our way over to the wall. And we'll take a few different stretches here at the wall. We will work through a little bit of low back, a little bit of the piriformis and hips, and then we'll also do some quad stretching. So from the wall, take hands to the wall, and it can be fingertips or palms, whichever feels the best. But first we'll walk our way out to come to that modified version of down dog. So you can work your hands down the wall a little ways and come to that place where your shins can be stacked straight up and down. So if you've walked your feet way back, then walk them in just a little bit. Knees are bent, sitting bones tilt up, extend through your heart, and even find that external arm bone rotation so your elbow pits are trying to turn toward the ceiling. From there, a little side to side sway with your hips, lengthening from hip to armpit. And now come back to center with your hips and tilt your sitting bones up. Push with your hands, extend your heart. Take a deep breath. And then walk your way in with your feet and rise all the way up. And just give your arms a little shake for a moment. And now you're going to not quite come as far into this pose, but just a little measuring. Hands to the wall, feet walk back a little ways so you have your knees bent. And then stand upright and cross right ankle over your left knee. And then hands come back to the wall and start to sit your hips down. Flex your right foot and send both sitting bones back. And now even think of lifting your right hip up and sending your right sitting bone out to the right and back, like you're trying to reach it to the back right corner of the room. Little lean with your torso to the left helps with this sometimes. Take a big deep breath. And now back into center with your hips and move both sitting bones back and broad. You can push with your hands a little bit here if you would like to. Take a deep breath. And inhale, gently rise up with your torso, set both feet on the ground, and pause for a second. Go ahead and rise all the way up to stand. Give your legs a little shake for your arms. And now, crossing left ankle over your right knee, hands out to the wall, and start to work your hips back. Again, coming to that figure 4 pose here. Sitting bones move back. And now start to lift your left hip up, moving your left sitting bone out to the left side and back. A little lean with your torso to the right sometimes helps that. Take a big full breath. Then inhale gently back upright, set both feet on the ground, and shake your arms out, shake your legs out. And now we'll come into that quad stretch that we know and love. You're always welcome to use a strap here to take your foot if you want to. I didn't think of having you grab one, but right hand to the wall, a little bend to your elbow so you have a little space to work with here. Balance on your right foot, bend your left knee. And sometimes it's easier to take hold of your foot or your ankle if you lift your knee up towards your chest first, slide your hand down your shin, and then find your foot. And if you find that holding your foot is not what's right for your body today, then just bend your knee so you can reach through your thigh. You don't have to hold your foot. Take a moment here to even out your thighs. And then notice that reach through your thigh bone, but then push from your right glute through your foot into the floor to see if you can lift your left hip up even as you reach through your thigh bone. Sitting bone moves back, so maybe your left heel and your left glute connect. Then with your hand at the wall, lift your sides, lift your chest. Think of shoulder blades moving onto your back. Take another big, deep breath right here. And then gently release your foot down and come to hold the wall with your left hand. Left foot balances. And again, from this place, sometimes it's easier to bring your knee up to take a hold of your foot and then bring your foot behind you. Or simply lengthen through your thigh, but even out your thighs here. Think of reaching through your thigh bone on your right leg, but then through your left foot, squeeze your left glute, push into the floor and let your left hip lift. So it's almost like you're trying to reach the thigh down and the hip up at the same time. Push sitting bones back. Maybe your heel touches your glute. Lift your ribs, your chest, your heart. Take a big, deep breath. Shoulder blades engaged. And then gently release your foot and give it a shake. Then we're going to do a little shoulder work here now before we come back to our mat, since we're already at the wall. Makes sense to me. I'm sure it does to you too. So fingertips to the wall on the left arm. And with your fingertips to the wall, think of shoulder height. Elbow lifts to shoulder height. We'll bend to your elbow here. And then begin to walk away. Turn your torso to the right side. Put your left shoulder blade on your back. Lift your chest up high. Take a full big breath. And then gently release your arm, give it a shake. And now second side, right arm, fingertips to the wall. And again, fingertips are at about shoulder height, elbow lifts to shoulder height with a bend, and then start to turn yourself to the left. As you turn to the left, just notice for yourself on this side what the difference is. If there's any more tension or if you feel pretty even on both sides, take a big deep breath. Keep engaging your shoulder blade onto your back. And then gently release. All right, one more stretch of the wall for our shoulders and we'll go back to our mats. So bring your right shoulder to the wall and then lift your right arm up straight ahead. And now from your hand to your shoulder blade, plug in, draw your shoulder blade onto your back. And now bend your elbows so your arm is coming straight across your chest. Now turn to face your elbow with your chest. Other hand comes to press your arm down. And as you press your arm down, you're not pushing your hand down, but your whole arm. Only to the point where you feel some stretch, but if you've got a lot of intensity here, then maybe go a little bit easy. This stretches that top part of your shoulder blade where you have that muscle that goes right through the little divot, little spot at the top of your shoulder blade. And take a big deep breath. And think of letting your shoulder be low. So oftentimes when you start to work it here, it likes to rise up. So take another big breath. And then gently release your arm and give it a shake. Okay, second side. So you're going to bring left shoulder right against the wall and then lift your left arm against the wall, straight out from your shoulder. From fingertips to shoulder blade, plug in and then bend your elbow. So it's coming right across your chest. And then turn your torso in toward your elbow like you're going to give yourself a hug. And then take your right hand to your left arm and give your arm a push down from above the wrist, pushing down. Just notice for yourself what that stretches for you, whether you have some similarities in tension on both sides or if one side has more than the other. Full big breath. And then gently release. Go ahead and come back to the front of your mat. Feet are now inner hip distance apart and parallel. Or again, if your low back and hips are tight, then maybe take your feet wider. Inhale, stretch up overhead. Exhale, bend knees, fold over your legs. And from this fold, let your arms hang, let your head hang. Good bend to your knees. And if you find that folding forward is a bit much on your low back, then you might be up with forearms or hands up above your knees here. That's okay too. Wherever that is for you, let your neck and head relax. If you're hanging, maybe allow a little sway side to side. And then heel toe your feet back in and step back to a hands and knees position. And from hands and knees, big toes come together, knees wide. Settle hips back toward your heels into your child's pose and let your head rest down. Take a couple big breaths here. Feel free to add a little bit of shifting and moving through your hips and your arms, giving yourself that information of whatever is happening in your body. And now gently push yourself up to your seat and locate your bolster or your pillow, whatever you're using. I think everybody on here has a bolster. And then set your bolster toward the front of your mat. We're going to lay over the bolster. And from this position, you can set your hands right up in front of your head and set your head down to rest, or you can set your head up on a block here. But then walk your knees wide and bend your knees so that your knees and toes are aiming out toward the sides. This is our crocodile pose. And so as you let your head rest down and start to take some deep breaths, just notice for yourself, if knees wide doesn't feel good, you can bring your knees back in. It just kind of accesses your belly a little bit more easily sometimes. But take a big couple of breaths and fill up your low belly with breath. Think of letting that expansion downward with your belly fill into your low back. Really allow your breath to almost exaggerate. Letting that exaggeration help movement happen into your back body, maybe even all the way up into your mid-back, low rib area. You have about 5 more full breaths right here. And then gently push yourself up with your hands, bring your legs back in. And you're gonna move to a hands and knees position just long enough to set your bolster aside and come all the way back down onto your belly. And from your belly, you wanna have space on either side, but we're gonna extend our arms out. We'll take this arm pigeon. It's good for a little shoulder stretch and a little bit of hips. So reach your right arm straight out to the right side. And just remember, palm down here. It's tempting to turn your palm up, but that rotates your shoulder down, which is a tough thing on the rotator cuff. So I want you to keep palm down, but instead, if it's really tense, you can just change the angle of your arm and bring it more close to your side, okay? So you decide where that angle needs to be for you. Your left hand helps you to turn your whole body to the left side. So now you're facing the left. And then your head rests down. It can always come to rest on something here. Now your top leg, lift it up, bend your knee and step behind you if you would like to. You don't have to do the hip part of this if you don't want. So now from that place, you can always walk your foot further away or keep it a little closer to you. Play around with where it's best for your body to get a little bit of a stretch. A little engagement upward with your knee. If you think about setting the pinky toe edge down on your foot, that sometimes helps this action to happen. Take a big couple of breaths wherever that is. And then gently unwind, coming all the way back to center. And now stretch left arm out to the left and find the angle that's right for you. Right hand helps you to turn, coming to face the right side. And then your top leg gets to lift up, bend your knee and maybe take your foot behind you. But if you find that adding the hips is just not where things are today, then feel free to just stack your legs again. That's okay. Take a deep breath wherever you are and adjust to whatever you need. If you're taking that hip opening variation, then think of energetically reaching upward through your knee and thigh. Pinky toe edge presses into the ground. And then gently unwind. And from this place, push all the way back into a child's pose one more time. And from your child's pose this time, if you would like, you can add blocks underneath your elbows here with bent elbows, hands coming together to touch. Or you can set your hands over the edge of your block so your fingers wrap around. And variation of child's pose that feels the best on your body. And take 3 more deep breaths. And then gently push yourself up to your seat and come all the way down onto sitting bones. And then feet together into your butterfly. Feel free to grab your blanket here if you would like to. And take a little forward fold in our butterfly and a little twist in our butterfly. So a rolled up blanket over your feet and underneath your legs is often a nice thing to do for your ankles to keep them supported. But you might also just use still a little bit of propping underneath your knees. And then hold on where it's comfortable. Move your sitting bones back and broad. And then inhale, sit up tall. Take a moment with your eyes closed here to feel the length of your spine and whatever is showing up through your hips. Another deep, full inhale to sit just a little bit taller. And exhale to hinge from your hips and fold as deeply as your body needs. Maybe you rest elbows against your calf muscles or walk your fingertips further forward. Or you can always take one of your props out in front of you to set forearms down. Maybe set your head down. Find what that is for your body and take a full breath. Three more deep breaths right here. Then inhale, gently rise back up. Taking your right hand across to your left foot, your left shin, your left knee, wherever it needs to be. Taking this spinal twist, press your left fingertips down behind you or beside you and lift up tall. Take a couple big, deep exhales to help your low ribs draw in and twist just a little bit more. And find that twist for yourself where your breath can be full, your spine can be long. Then inhaling, come back into center. And take your left hand across to your foot, your shin, your knee, wherever it needs to be. Right fingertips behind you and lengthen. Lift up tall. Take a couple big breaths and again, Low ribs drawing in help you to twist a little bit more so that you're twisting from the ribs instead of from the low back. You can inhale and sit taller. Exhale, low ribs in. A couple more deep breaths this way, finding a long spine, finding your deepest breath. Then inhale, come back into center. And footprints to the ground. You can take your blanket aside now. And hands at your knees, take a couple moments to move through your spine. Inhaling and exhaling. Tall through your spine on the inhale. Press back through your spine on the exhale. Little cat and cow. Then inhale nice and tall, and then make your way all the way down onto your back. We are going to move to the wall in a little bit, but we'll take a couple more poses from our back. So now as you lay all the way down onto your back and draw your knees in, take a moment to rock side to side here and tune in and notice what feels different now, or what's shown up, whatever is present there for you. And now set right foot on the ground. You're crossing left ankle over your right knee. So figure four, similar to what we did at the wall. You're gonna pick your legs up towards your body as close as your body's ready for. And that could always mean that your foot stays on the ground. That's always okay here. So now wherever that is for you, if it feels good, you can add a little rock side to side. And now let your legs rock just a little bit over to the right side so your left hip is lifted up. And now you're going to try to move your left hip out to the left and forward toward the foot of your mat. Take a big deep breath. And now you're going to keep your legs in this same shape, but take that twist a little further, allowing your left foot to come to the floor, or it can come to a prop. It doesn't have to come all the way to the ground. We're taking that spinal twist. Then if your left shoulder is still on the ground, you might open it up. You might take your right hand to your thigh and either push forward or pull back, depending on what feels good or needed for a stretch. Then take a big breath. And then gently bring your legs back up to center, and now set your left foot on the ground and right ankle over the top. And now again, you can keep your foot on the ground here if that feels best, or you can lift your legs up a little ways toward you and add that rock side to side. Sometimes that rock just gives you a chance to lengthen your low back just a little bit more. And now take that rock just a little bit more over to the left side so that your right hip is lifted up. And then reach your right hip out to the right and toward the foot of your mat or toward the wall in front of you. Take a big, deep breath. And now with your legs where they are, just take that twist a little bit further. Then again, it doesn't have to be all the way down to the ground. It could always be onto a block or a bolster here with your foot. Find where that is for you on this side. Remember, we're not symmetrical, so it might look different. And then if your right shoulder is all the way down, maybe open your right arm up to the right, your gaze to the right. You can always just keep your hand at your side if you want to, that's okay too. But then your left hand gets to become that stretch helper. So you can either push your thigh away or you can pull your thigh toward you, whichever feels the best. Maybe you go back and forth between the two, just feel both. Take some big breaths and find what that is for you. And then gently bring your legs back up to center. And you're uncrossing your legs, hug your knees in and rock. And then roll over to your side and push yourself up to your seat. And then you're going to find your way over to the wall, whatever you have accessible, or your chair. Your chair is always an option. And having a bolster ready for you is great. Or you can always keep your hips planted on the ground if that feels better on your low back. So come to sit sideways against the wall. Doesn't matter which side. Nice and close. And then you're going to use your hands to support you to roll your legs up the wall so that your back is on the ground. And then inch yourself toward the wall as close as is comfortable so that then your legs can be up the wall or up the chair. If you would like to add the prop underneath your hips, then bring your feet to the wall or your chair. It can always come to the edge of your chair and push to lift your hips up, kind of like a modified version of shoulder stand here. And then take your pillow or bolster, take your blanket, take your block, whatever you're using underneath your hips. And think of allowing for that little bit of movement down of your sitting bones on the other side, if that feels okay on your body. If not, then you can always have your hips a little further back on your prop. Find what feels the best in your body. You can always open your arms up to a T or a cactus, or take your hands to your sides. And as you find that place for yourself, just remember that you're never stuck in this position or any position. You're always welcome to shift. You can try out a couple different positions here. You can open your legs up wide and take a few breaths there. You can take legs either crossed or into a butterfly as if you were sitting on the wall. or your legs straight up and down here is a great place to be as well. The other option, if things stop feeling comfortable, is to bend your knees and put the soles of your feet on the wall, which is a really nice grounding place to be. So as you find the place that feels the best to you right now, again, remember that you can always shift. And that might mean shifting all the way out of it and into a typical Shavasana, laying all the way down. So find what that feels like and looks like for you today. And start to let yourself release and let go. Begin to take a deeper breath. And add gentle movement into your fingers and toes. Gently bend your knees in toward your chest. And slowly roll over to one side. And then press yourself back up to your seat. And connecting palms together at heart center. With your eyes closed, take a moment to tune into a full deep breath. Draw hands to your third eye and back to heart center. And bow towards your heart. Have a very peaceful and beautiful day. Namaste.